What do we have here? That's a new board. Oh yeah.
What's up, everybody? This is Rich with Lifetime Shred, and I decided on a board, so it's going to be this one. Yep, the Hyperlite Guara. So this is Pedro's Pro Model board. I'm super excited to check this out, and I did think about a couple different boards in my previous video, which I'll link below in the description. But anyway, let's get into checking out this board. I'm going to run through the board itself as I unbox it, as well as compare it to my Slingshot Volt that I've been riding for the last 3 seasons. So here we go.
Man, seeing some boards in person is so much different than when looking at them online. Like, almost every board looks better in person, I think. So yeah, there we go. It's actually pretty cool. So it's a glossy top, except for where the graphic is in there. So this does look like this has some of that grab rail tech that the other boards have too, but then it definitely has the thicker metal. Yeah, checking out the base. Yeah, I love the big flat zone here between the rails. Let's give it a flex. Oh yeah, I could definitely feel it's got some flex. Definitely some fun to be had there. Man, that board looks amazing. Wow. Yeah, I went with the 153, so it's got the yellow base. And hunted down some Space Mobs from a couple years ago. I think that's gonna look pretty good on there, and it does. So yeah, I'm stoked on that, but yeah, let's check it out. I'm gonna get rid of the boxes real quick. Now let's compare this board to the Slingshot Volt I've been riding previously. All right, so we're gonna do some comparisons here between the Volt and the Guara. I call this out because I really did enjoy the Volt for the last 3 summers. I mean, this board was great, did me real well. But I was really interested in some of the dimensional differences between these boards. So the Volt's a 152 and the Guara is a 153. But let's just do a tip-to-tip measurement here. So if I pull that down, again, this isn't the running length, but just the board on the ground. We're at about 59 5/8 inches on the 152 Volt. We go over to the Guara. Center there. And we are at 59 7/8. So, the centimeter thing makes sense. Pretty similar lengths, though, all things considered. Let's look at the waist width. Across the middle here on the Volt, and we are at about 17 7/8 or 15 16, basically 18 inches. We do the same measurement on the Guara. It's kind of hard because the edge doesn't have something to clip onto there, but I think I got it in the right spot. We're basically 17 inches, so we are about an inch less wide. Yeah, just talking to that width a little bit, I laid the 2 boards on top of each other. So the Guara on top of the Volt. And you can see in the waist, it's definitely a little wider on the Volt than the Guara. But then we get near the tip and the tail, and they're basically the same width. Yeah, let's look at some other measurements here. So stance widths. So you'll notice on the Volt, we've got 4 inserts here. If we look at just kind of the default, you're going to be at about 23 inches in the middle. But you're not really going to ride the middles because you're on 4 sets of inserts on each side. There isn't like a center insert. So the Volt, you could basically go 20, 22, 24, 26, and that would be center to center on your foot. We're on the Guara, from the middle of there to the middle of there based on the logos. We're more around like 22 inches center to center. So your widths are going to be either 20, 22, or 24 inches. Again, that's unless you own a binding that can adjust the width outside of where the inserts put you. But yeah, I guess to say, if you want to ride this board in the middle, which is where I'm going to ride it, it's basically the same as riding 1 in from center or 1 in from skinny on the Volt. Let's look at the rocker profile. So this probably isn't a perfect test, but what I like to do here is measure the height of the board off a level ground. And so what we're actually going to do, I'm going to measure the volt first, and then I'm going to move the volt and stick the Guerrera where it is. That way, on this hot tub cover, we don't end up with like an uneven placement. So we'll just kind of rocker that a little bit. And on this board, we're looking at around 2 11/16, something like that. We'll just measure it again. Yeah, 2 11/16. Now I'm just going to swap these boards around. Same position, let that settle. And then on this one, we're going to be at 2 3/4. So maybe just a teeny bit amount more rocker in this board, so a bigger curve, but really pretty similar to the Volt. Now we're just going to do the very unscientific flex test here. I'm going to grab the Volt first, actually. And you know, this is like a medium flex board is how I would label this. And we're going to flex it in the middle first. And I'm going to push down here too. So you know, with this tech, it is a little bit softer in the nose than the center, and that's the same on both boards. Going over to the Guerrera. To me, the Guerrera feels slightly stiffer in the center, but similar in the nose and the tail, which kind of matches up with the tech, what we would expect there. Still wouldn't call it stiff. Definitely ridden stiffer cable boards. Native was stiffer than this, but maybe a little stiffer belly than the Volt. Yeah, otherwise on the base, you know, the Slingshot base here with the Volt is pretty simple. It's pretty flat, other than the contours in the nose and tail. Over on the Guerrera, we're looking at a bottom channel that runs probably the middle, I don't know, we'll say 2/3 of the board, and the outer 1/6 have no channel. It is beveled almost the whole way around, other than right here where it's got that concave lock zone for pipes. And that's really the big difference I was looking for in my next board. Like, I like this a lot, and I've tried other boards with that canted edge or beveled edge that I didn't like in the past, but they never had the channels. And I'm hoping I can get the best of both worlds here. Some grip from the channels, but not catching on stuff because of that canted beveled edge. But yeah, when looking at these two boards, you know, I think the main differences are, other than the fact they're two different brands, it's an inch skinnier waist on the Guerrera. It's slightly longer board. It's got this grab rail tech on the Guerrera that is not on the Volt. You know, they both have the thicker middles. Ramps up in the same spot, basically.
Anyway, I hope that was interesting. I loved exploring this board and comparing it to my old Volt and seeing what the differences are. Really excited to see how those go for me. Hopefully I'll be getting out on this board in the next couple weeks down at Amati Wake Zone. And at that time, I'll post another video kind of giving my first thoughts after riding it. And then, assuming it all goes well, I'll probably do a video at the end of the season to kind of capture that 1-year review. So with that said, I hope you're getting out and riding sometime soon. If there's a piece of gear you're really stoked on, let me know below, and love to hear about that. So comment, subscribe, etc., and I'll catch you later. Bye.